So let's see what else.
Vic told me got fired so you can't hear.
I can't hear you.
Vic told me got fired so you
Oh, and then of course one day he got real cocky. We were there a year or so. We were there a year or so. Of course, my son had his first schooling there. He was 7. He had his first schooling, and they had all the grades. And we were there, and 30 till 32, or maybe almost 33. And then one day, Tony got real cocky and talked short to the mine foreman. Of course, he was let out. And of course, when he was let out, why, he said, well, they can fire me, but they can't make me leave the valley. So we came to Red River, New Mexico. So that's the reason we are here. Of course, I love the country, and he certainly did. He was a fisherman. And we came to Red River, and we knew the Horace and Mary Johnson, who have gone on. They had the store up where that big Finks used to be up here. It was an old log cabin. And they had the store, the telephone, Notary Public, and if you had to do anything or know anything, you had to go to them. If you know, they had that one telephone, they had the phone. And we knew them, and in the meantime, we had played bridge with them through the week. They liked bridge, and of course we did too. So we went up there, and they didn't want us to leave. Of course, I was ready to go back to Kansas. But I thanked myself 1,000,001 times that I didn't. But anyway, I was ready to go, and Miss Johnson talked to me and begged me to stay, and they had an old cabin. And the old cabin is over on High Street, the schoolhouse, and then High Street. And no one had lived in it for over 100 years, I don't think. But anyway, it was all right. And they wanted us, said we could go and stay there until we made up our minds what we wanted to do. So, of course, a lot of begging, so I decided that I would stay. So, and the Johnsons, of course, wanted us to open a cafe. And a cafe is something that I was always a school teacher, and I had never run a cafe, and she wanted us to open a cafe. But of course, in Red River, you've got to be versatile. You've got to just be able to do anything. You just, no matter what it is, you've got to meet the occasion. So I stayed. So we went over there, swept down the walls, cleaned it. It was just a long room. It had a stove in it. I don't know what was ever in it. It had some shelves and a counter, maybe some chairs, I don't know. And we went over there and swept the walls down. And no water. We had to carry the water from the river. And in the meantime, my husband had, you've seen those wagons, 2 wheels here and the wagon tongue here, you know, the wheels and the bed here and then the wheel. And so you had 2 barrels put on this bed so that we hauled the water from the river. And we hauled the water, and of course I was the horse, you might know. You know. So we hauled the water from the river. Not twice a day, but we got it all scrubbed down and washed, and new curtains and dishes and pots and pans. And we opened the cafe, and of course it was called the Evergreen. Can y'all hear me? It was called the Evergreen. And of course I was the Evergreen, you know, still am. But anyway, that's the way we got started. So we opened it, and it was a year of the drought, the dust storms in Oklahoma. And the people just poured in here. They just poured in here. I don't know how they ever heard of Oklahoma, but just to get away from those dust storms, because their homes were all covered, their machinery was all covered, you know. And they came and would eat with me, and we just went on from there. And of course, the people were all nice. Amarillo came, Panhandle. It was all Panhandle. They all came. And there wasn't too much of Dallas and Fort Worth and Houston. It was all Panhandle, which was all right with me. So that's the way we got going. And then in the meantime, Earl and Ada Romer came, had an ad in the paper where Ada wanted a job. They came from Rocky Ford, wanted a job cooking. So we answered her ad. So Ada came, and she cooked for me. And Earl, her husband, was a maintenance man at Grandview Camp, which is now condos now. The cabins are all gone right up there, condos now. So Earl worked for the Clappers, Mr. and Miss Clapper. He was their maintenance man. So Ada worked for me. And of course, Earl got a room over there, so she got to stay with him. So So we just kept on going. And then liquor came in 35. We got our first beer license. Beer was 15 cents. A shot was 15 cents. And New Mexico went wet in 35. The entire state went wet. We have the liquor license. I have the first liquor license. Still have it. And I still have the license when I opened the cafe in 1934. So we just went on from there.